I've been playing a lot of Neeko recently, and she's quickly become my favorite champion for a number of different reasons. She has so many different builds that she can do. She can go in any lane she wants to, including ADC, and she also is just very versatile. But one thing's for sure is that she does really need a buff. With the launch of patch 9.5, they actually did give her a buff, and I feel like it was too much. There's a common theme with all of her abilities. They all have what I like to call conditional damage. Every single one of her abilities has some form of condition in order to get the most out of that ability. Her Q can blossom up to 3 times, but that's if she hits an enemy champion with the first cast of it, or it kills a unit which grants it another pop. Besides the active portion of her W, she needs 3 autos in order to get that extra bonus damage. To get the maximum root out of her E, it would need to go through 2 units first. And even then, it only affects the last champion hit for the longest duration of the root. And her ultimate has a really big delay before it can actually go off and deal its damage and stun people. And I actually do like the conditions behind all of the abilities. But with the buff that came out, they're actually making it easier to get the full root duration of her E. I do like the buff, but I feel like it's going to be too much, and that's going to cause for some number changes later on if she gets really popular. And I don't want that. I like her damage. I like how she is. I just kind of want more ability to do things. So instead of changing the root duration, here's a couple options that I was thinking up while I was playing her. Now there are 2 different changes that I personally would have done to try and buff her, instead of just changing her root to make it easier to hit the longest duration. One thing that I thought of was having her W active, the little clone that comes out, having that mimic abilities, kind of like how Zed's Shadow does. We could have changed it to where the clone mimics the first ability you cast after using your W. Now the clone wouldn't do damage with any of the abilities casts, and it also wouldn't root anyone, but it'd be really cool to be able to fake people out to see if they could blow some summoner spells or some kind of escape just by throwing your W up and trying to root them with it. I can just imagine now 2 Neeko ultimates going off at the same time and you have no idea what to do because you're kind of just screwed no matter where you go. That would have been really cool. The other change I thought of is a little bit stronger, but I thought it'd be kind of cool to focus a little bit more on her actual passive. Right now Neeko's passive is good. It's really good for mind games. You can use it to fake out where your jungler is if you're trying to go roam bot or top for an actual gank. It's also pretty good if you want to try and get to lane faster by turning into somebody on your team that has more movement speed than you. All that's really cool, but I feel like you could do more with that. Instead of just being able to turn into an enemy champion, what if when you mimic someone on your team, if you haven't been seen by an enemy champion for the last 5 seconds, your next ability or auto attack is empowered? Now when I say empowered, I don't mean do more damage or root even longer than 3 seconds. But instead of being able to do something more with it, why not just take away the condition from your next ability that you cast? Likewise, if you want to just auto somebody out of your passive, what if it primes your W passive? So instead of it being every 3rd auto, your next auto attack after turning into somebody, it just goes off and it uses your passive for your W. The only problem I can see with this change is that it could be abused a little bit too much. If you're playing support Neeko, you can just sit in your brushes in bot lane and just wait for the passive power to kick in. And then you can just throw out your Q or your E, and you instantly have a 3-second root. Or if you're in mid lane, you back away to your tower while your wave's pushing, then turn into somebody, and then your next ability is enhanced. Same with top lane, with the whole brush thing. Now these changes aren't perfect, but I feel like we can do more than just make it to where she has a longer teamfight E. I'm afraid that it's going to be too much of a good change, and then we're going to have to lose something else with Neeko. Like maybe with her E, every single champion it goes through will lose damage past the first one. Or maybe they'll take away how much damage her extra pops do from her Q. Or maybe they'll take away the ratio on her ultimate again, because that seems like the most likely thing they'd change. Even though this is such a good change to Neeko, I just don't want her to be killed. I don't want her to have this huge nerf to her come around because now everyone's playing her and being able to get 3-second roots on every single champion in a team fight. Even though that sounds disgusting. There are also obviously a lot of other things we could do to her, but I haven't thought of them. And those are my changes. So yeah, bye!